This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
I don't know if you guys saw this, but if you get a chance, go and watch the press conferences from the Celtic players after. And let me tell you something. There was no credit to the Heat at all. The Celtic players blamed everything on themselves, that they didn't do enough. They weren't good enough in this moment. They didn't make the baskets. They didn't defend. There was no credit whatsoever. When you listen to the press conference from the Miami Heat, it was hey, that's a tough team over there. Spo did plenty of praising for the other team. Guys were respectful. Jimmy Butler also was like, hey, you know, that's a good team over there. They play hard. But when I saw the Celtics on that loss, it was all them and nothing to do with the Miami Heat. And I found it really interesting, and I wonder if the Heat players, I mean, not that they need any motivation. You know, I've already done this segment before. I told you their maturity is through the roof. It's crazy. 4-0 against the Pacers, 4-1 against Milwaukee, and now you don't screw around against Boston and you win the first one. I mean, this team, wow. We talk about the Clippers coasting and, you know, taking games off, moments off, whatever. This team, forget about it. And so the work ethic is there, so they don't need motivation. But I'm just wondering if anybody saw those press conferences yesterday by the Celtics. Something tells me that if you're a Heat player, you're going to watch that and you're going to go, so we had nothing to do with that? So it wasn't Tyler's great shot from three or an incredible bounce pass in a break. I forgot who it was. Was it Crowder, I think he passed it to? I forgot, but it doesn't matter. Either way, the Tyler bounce pass, the Jimmy Butler three, the Jimmy Butler shot, the Bam block. I mean, okay, so they don't get any credit? That one, so I found it really interesting that when you listen to those press conferences, and I want you to go back if you get a chance to listen to last night's press conferences, they pretty much kind of, it was all us. Nothing with the Heat at all.
I've been looking at the stats from last night compared to season, you know, and they pretty much played their game, you know.
Who?
Celtics.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
They were within their usual numbers, their score, everything, you know.
Not Kemba.
Kemba, no, a little down.
He's been playing bad.
But across the board, for the most part, you know what I mean?
Yep.
They were what they are.
Two things
That's my point.
Two things I said yesterday that Miami had an advantage on. What was it?
Bench.
And?
Bam.
Okay. So what?
Bam.
How many points did they win by?
3.
The bench outscored their bench 22-18.
4 points.
That's the difference in the game. Not a huge difference in the bench last night. I expected to be a little bit more of a difference, but those 4 points was the difference in the game. You know what I mean? And to me, that's one of the things I talked about yesterday, that I thought Miami's bench was better. And obviously Tyler Hero is the star of both benches. One of the stars of the damn game is Tyler Hero, because from the bench he almost had a triple-double. I don't think they had anybody in the neighborhood like that on their bench. You know what I'm saying? So it's interesting, man. It really is, to see the way that they have played and the maturity level of this team. That's why I'll be interested to see if they find any motivation from the comments from the Celtics last night.
You know, let's be honest, because we talked about it last night. The foul call on Draj on that 3-point shot for the ball to be deflected and for them to call a foul. And
because the body on the bottom is where they had the connection.
Bam, but he got ball first. Ball first.
Yeah, but the body is when you're in the air. There was contact.
It still is a bad call. Bam's under the basket. He would have got the rebound. When they go from it's not a foul, to we're going to tip the ball. No, it should have been our ball. Bam was the one that came up with the ball.
Yeah,
if you don't screw up the foul call, we get the ball.
The referees weren't a difference in the game.
But what I'm saying is when he hits the three after the tip, there's no overtime.
Yeah, the Crowder play was kind of questionable.
Yes,
too.
That was terrible.
There was a couple, but that's it's an NBA game. There's going to be 400 calls.
You pointed it out. The refs are the worst.
Yeah, they're the bad. But
my point is we shouldn't have been in overtime. We shouldn't have been.
That game was not decided by the refs. So the Heat did what they were supposed to do. They played crappy in the second and the first and third quarters. So they put themselves in that position. And then they had to play their asses off in the second and the fourth and overtime to end up, pulling this thing out. So I can't lean on them that hard because in the end – the Heat put themselves in a position of a deficit, and then the Heat themselves lifted themselves out of that deficit and got the win. So I got to give them.
Like you talk about maturity and stuff, you look at the way we started the game. We ran them down. We took a lead. The third period, they got back out to 10, 12 points a couple times, and we ran them down again. That maturity of not panicking, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's amazing.
Yep.
This team.